Good morning. Welcome, everyone, or I guess good afternoon. Welcome, everyone, to the launch class. How are you?
I'm great.
All right. All right. Everybody's good? All right. Well, today we are going to talk about smooth closings and we're going to talk about navigating the buyer process. So we'll give you, I'm going to share a checklist, but we'll also talk about each phase of the transaction from beginning to end. And so if you have any questions, as usual, we're always happy to answer those. So I'm going to share my screen. And if you have any questions, please write them down, share them in the chat. We try to follow the chat, but if for some reason we don't see it, just raise your hand or let us know, okay? So can everybody see the screen okay? I'm
Sure
gonna make
can.
I'm gonna make
Yep,
it bigger. Does that help?
that does.
It's like you're at the eye doctor. Is that too
Yeah,
big?
Much better.
I
No,
think
it's
it's great.
good.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. All right. So we're gonna get started here. So Luigi, I'm gonna let you kick us off here.
All right. Well, it's really, as you can see in the screen, it's very self-explanatory. Just going through that buyer checklist, it will make it, so much easier, and you will avoid from running into glitches and hiccups as you go with the closing. So we just start with buyer, buyer name, contact information. Always put the, buyer title company, property address, of course. Um, Pending dates, it's important. Pending price. There is a reason between what is saying pending price, because price can change time to time. So
Yeah.
you always want to. Oh, the screen changed.
Oh,
Oh, now it's back. Okay, good.
okay. Sorry.
No, no, it's
I touched
good.
something.
No, it's good. So
Okay.
just fill out, filling out all this information. It's gonna it's gonna help you and everyone not to miss any valuable, important information for the closing, because everyone picks up from this from this information. Example, title company will pick up, okay, when is the closing scheduled, so they can do their work. It's the information asked to be provided here is going to affect all parties involved. So so again, EMD, the amount, seller titles, when you go to pending, right? Pending date, pending price, listing agent's name, it's important in case any issue. So we know who's the listing agent. Uh, uh, Sellers' names, EMD, amount, closing date, when it's scheduled, seller titles. Is there any home warranty? You check yes or no. If yes, put the home warranty name. Lenders, it's important. A loan officer is very important, um, because again, any lender glitches or issues, or we know who we need to deal with.
Mhm.
Then appraisal company. So usually appraisal company, uh, the listing agent knows this. If you represent the buyer, and why I'm saying listing agent knows, because the appraiser will contact the listing agent to schedule an appraisal and appointment. So they get all the information, who is the appraiser and information and all of that. Buyer's agent will not find out on their own necessarily who is the appraiser. You can find out from the listing agent or the lender, of your buyer. But it's important to know who's the appraiser.
Yep.
So you want to put the appraiser date, um, any appraisal condition, if it appraised okay or not, or if it's cleared, you just put that note there. Any loan updates, and then of course clear to close. Put when it
Mhm.
was clear to close. So I I don't know if I missed something, Tracy or
No.
Kim, but
No, that's
No,
perfect. And
yeah.
what you're gonna to everyone in the room is this is a checklist, and you may gather this information not necessarily on this piece of paper. You can use Folio. You might have a CRM. A lot of this, you'll see a lot of this information goes on the new deal summary in dot loop. So we've just compiled once you have a buyer and they went pending, so you gather this information. It's just a checklist. So it's not that you have to pull out a piece of paper and write it all down. But eventually, these are all the moving parts that are in the transaction.
Mhm.
So, yep,
Yeah,
that's good.
I like what Kim just said. And everything that Luigi just described to all of you had to do with one thing, and that's gather. And that was
Mhm.
Kim's word. Little Red Riding Hood was picking up things along the way and gathering them and putting them into her little basket because she was on, she didn't want to lose her way. And we don't want any of you to lose your way, which is why we have these checklists. When I first got started, we didn't have checklists that were this extensive. And so this is really, I want you to think about yourself just like Little Red Riding Hood. We don't want you to lose your way. We want to make sure you have all the pieces and parts together, which is why everything that Weeds just described is really important because they have something to do with the transaction. So there's a reason it's there. There's a reason we want you to fill it out. So when we move from the first section, which is the gathering piece of information, then we move to how do you get started with the buyer? Like, what are the things? And so, Kim, are you right below the part that Louise just went through?
Yep, I moved it up. Can you not see it?
Yeah, I thought you cut off the part above it, though.
Oh, that was part of,
Oh,
I'd
no,
always,
no,
yep,
it's
you're
good.
good?
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
So then we go from the gathering piece. We're going to gather some more, but this all has to do with getting started with your client. So you have a real live client, and we need to start doing things in dot loop, your electronic filing system. And so you need to create a loop. So that's when you're going to go in and you're going to go, hit the plus sign and you're going to start that first loop. And in there, you're going to grab a buyer packet because you know you're going to be writing on behalf of a buyer. Sometimes you meet a buyer and all of a sudden you have a property address and boom, you've jumped right into, I'm going to be writing an offer and I've got to get all my documents. So you may be starting with an actual address, but if you do, either way, you're going to want to grab your buyer packet. And you're going to want to have those conversations about the disclosure regarding agency relationship, property showing agreements, and making sure that you have your disclosure regarding agency relationship signed. And when you grab those documents, you don't have to remember these things because we've done this for you. In the buyer packet, it's going to drop all those forms.
Mhm.
Your job is to be learning about what those forms are, understanding those forms. What is a disclosure regarding agency relationship and what is a buyer agency contract? What's the difference? Why do I have to have them? And what is this thing called a property showing agreement? So, as a new to industry agent, your job is to become a pro and start walking yourself through those documents. Read them out loud to yourself, read them to somebody else, call someone on the broker support team and say, hey, I've seen the disclosure regarding agency relationship, but I don't understand it. Can someone help me? And that's what we're here for. Okay. So you're going to need a copy of your buyer's pre-approval letter. If you're working with a lender, the lender is going to take a look at your buyer's income and assets, tax returns, things like that, and they're going to set the bar as to how high. When the buyer says, "Oh, I love this house that's 325,000," well, before you start unlocking doors, you want to make sure that the buyer can actually afford a home for 325,000. That pre-approval letter from the lender is essentially the permission slip that you need to unlock doors at those purchase prices, or really not to exceed. Like if I have a pre-approval letter for 325, I really don't want to show my buyer $375,000 houses because I know they can only afford 325. Now I might look at one that's 350 and say, well, this has been on the market for 30 days, so perhaps we might be able to get it for a little bit less, but I use the pre-approval letter as a guide.
Mhm.
The next
Mhm.
thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set up your portals in your MLS. So you might be a Flex MLS person. You might be someone that's in RealComp MLS. Might be somebody that's in Englar MLS. You might be somebody that's in the Royal Palm MLS, but you're in one of those. So each one of us will be setting up portals for our buyer. Okay, you know the buyers, because you've gone through your buyer consultation with them. You know that they're looking for a minimum of 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a 2-car garage. They want a basement or don't. They want a big yard or a small yard. So you're going to go in and you're going to select those parameters in the MLS to begin building a portal for your buyer that will start sending out to them when something new comes into the market. So,
Perfect. Has everybody created a loop? Everybody's good. You've created a loop. You feel comfortable.
No.
It's who said no?
Corrine,
Yes.
Kareem? Okay. So we can talk a little bit further, but it's one of the things I recommend is that you go in to your MLS and pick a property and find a home, act like you're going to buy it, and practice dropping a loop so that when you're in the heat of things and you have a buyer, if when you're brand new, you have all these new things that you're going to be doing, creating loops, opening doors, using a central lock, scheduling a showing. So the best thing you can do is practice all of these steps. And so I would go in and just pick a property, practice creating a loop, practice filling out your forms. We also have under the education section in Dot Loop, there are some filled out samples for every board. So go ahead and just, you're not going to break anything. Go ahead and practice doing that, and that's going to make you less nervous when it is time. Okay. So the other thing too that Tracy
Okay.
mentioned, yes, who said something?
I just said, okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, good. I thought you had a question. So, the other thing that she mentioned is setting up a portal in Flex MLS. I know most buyers, they're out on all the external websites. But I still do this. I want it to come from me. There are some advantages of setting up this portal. A, it comes from you. You're the pro. We can see when they view it. We also don't want them clicking on a button someplace else. So very important to communicate at that point. Yeah, Tracy.
I was just going to say what I like about setting up portals for me when I'm working with a buyer is that I have it send me a copy because
Yes.
buyers are sitting at home, they're scrolling here, they're scrolling there, in their car, at their desk, in bed, at dinner. This is their hobby, looking for a home.
Yeah.
So I'm not out looking for their home 24 hours a day because we have lots of people that we're working with and lots of activities that happen in real estate. But when I copy myself on it, it automatically causes me to go, boom, something new for my Lauren. Lauren's my buyer, and something new came in the portal today. So I'm going to go look at it. I'm going to research it, and then I'm going to send her a note. Hey, Lauren, just wanted to let you know this new one came in today. Oh my gosh, remember you told me you were looking for a large patio. Here it is.
Mhm.
They want to know that you're working for them. So this is a way that you can do that as well.
And one of the other things on that note that I'll do is I will go download the disclosures and send them over to them. You can text them now, you can email them, and then I'll say, hey, I saw that this home just came up in this area. Here's the disclosure. So you're continuously providing value and you're beyond just some button click on the computer. So all of these processes are, we're going through an overview and then we will take questions for and along the way. On and some of the processes if you have questions about that. So once you get through that, you're going to set up your loop. You're going to be a pro at that. We're willing to help you get ahead of this because one of the things is when all of a sudden your buyer, you open a door, your buyer likes the home, you're going to write an offer, you're going to call the broker support team, and we're going to be helping you, and you want to know your tools. You're going to want to know how to use Flex. You're going to want to know how to open a lockbox. You're going to want to know how to set up a showing. There's all these things that you're going to you'll give your energy to the right place when it is time to finally write that offer. So work at practicing and being a pro. And then this seems really simple, but when you're brand new, how do I show a property? What do I do next? So when you want to show a property, you're going to go into the MLS. Most of them will have showing time button, but you're going to want to look at the agent remarks or showing remarks, and they're going to say, please text so and so, please use showing time. And so most agents I see do use in my area use showing time app. So you want to set up the showing. in that feedback, when you get confirmed, you want to make sure you're confirmed. Don't go without a confirmation. It's going to tell you the key
How
box
does the
location,
swivel charging adapter work?
the entry. It's going to show you how to access the home. And then you're going to want to review the pictures. Know, is it on well and septic? Is it
Magnetic.
is
They
it
need to
public?
secure
Is it
their magnetic.
I'm afraid to touch anything here because I'm going to lose my screen, but if you could mute whoever's, I can't see, but if you could do that, please. And so you want to print the disclosures. I always print them, send them ahead of time, have them with me. Um, be courteous that I literally have had calls and I've dealt with it myself where a buyer comes in. Remember, there are cameras in most places. So be careful what you say in the home and also be careful how we conduct ourselves in the home. And I literally have had personal clients where I've had to ask the children to please stop jumping on the couch, right? So I'll use myself out there, but we have had calls and buyers or sellers do know what's going on in their home. So we want to be courteous. We want to take off our shoes, wear booties, whichever that is. Make sure when you leave that if you turn on a light, you turn it off. Also, leave a business card so that they know that you were there. What other things, Luigi or Tracy, can you think of that just the basic, simple things of just getting through the door and showing a property?
I was just going to say something about the part about leaving a business card.
Hmm.
And, during COVID, people stopped doing that. And I even see it a little bit more now. But the art of leaving a business card is a respectful thing.
Hmm.
So you've made an appointment to show a house. A seller has cleaned and exited their home for 30 minutes to an hour for you. And it's respectful. When they come home, they're looking for evidence, a door moved, a curtain moved, a
Hmm.
something. So when you leave a business card, it's a signal to say, thank you so much. I did show your home. So I really like the idea of still leaving a card.
And sometimes I see agents will put a nice note on it. Lovely home. Thank you for the opportunity. One thing that's on here is give feedback. And that rule is kind of up in the air because we've learned about some lawsuits that have come from giving feedback. So I do give feedback, and I'll let Tracy or Luigi weigh in as well. I do give feedback, but they'll say, "Is your buyer interested in the home?" I might say no or yes, and then I just write, "Thank you for the showing beautiful home," or something with the smiley face, because they are also trying to communicate with their seller. So, Tracy, what do you say about that?
I do exactly that.
Okay.
We just know of lawsuits where a feedback harms a potential buyer from
Mm.
getting a home. And when the buyer and seller got to the closing table together, information was shared back and forth. And then the buyer sued the buyer broker over comments that were made. And so it's best just to keep it real benign. Hey, great house, love the location on the street, wasn't the right house for my buyer. Or hey, we just got started looking, great home. Just something that, because that seller's agent is an agency relationship with their seller. And
Mhm.
we are still in a cooperative group of people where buyers and sellers are interacting with the use of the MLS and licensed realtors. So someday you're going to be on the other side of it and you're going to realize, man, some kind of feedback would be helpful. Because sometimes
Mhm.
you walk out of a house and you're like, oh my gosh, the tobacco smell was so bad, or the smell of dog urine was so bad. And you are begging an agent to be honest with you, and they won't because they're all afraid. But some
Yeah.
kind of feedback is helpful just because that person left the home. Luigi, do you have a comment?
Actually, it's funny. It's a bummer we cannot share that, or we're afraid. I appreciated the feedback on my wife's listing the other day. Upstairs bedroom smells like a cat, they said.
Mhm.
And what I did, I went without even communicating. I bought one of those sprays. I went to the house and sprayed the house. It was a contribution to seller and us as agents. So um, I don't know. I am a big fan to disclose the condition, to give feedback, but I guess the lawsuits prevent us from contributing to each other because it hurts me not to give, especially negative feedback to the listing agent, because really giving the negative feedback, we are contributing to them to
Mm-hmm.
have the seller do what they need to
Mm-hmm.
do.
Perfect.
So,
So
but
now we're
we
getting
have to
ready
be
to,
diplomatic. We have to be diplomatic, I guess, we're
yes.
walking one line.
Yep. So Luigi, now you've taken your buyer, you've opened the door, you're a brand new agent, you've got your loop already, you've got the pre-approval letter, you know what they can buy, you've set up your MLS, you've sent them some properties. They have said, "Yep, I want to go see 123 Main Street." You've made it through that first time of getting through that central lock, and you've made sure all the doors are locked, and you're ready to go, and you step outside of the cameras, and you talk and they say, "I love this house. I want to write an offer." So now what do you do after that? You're going to go back. Tell us
Yes.
what you do when you prepare for an offer to be the pro and to take the
I
next
mean,
steps for your
very
buyer.
good. I mean, for very first thing is you determine if they are fully pre-approved.
Mm-hmm.
You wanna get a pre-approval,
Mm-hmm.
and then ask the questions, how much they're willing to offer,
Mm-hmm.
what's gonna be their offer, and how much down payment they're putting,
Okay.
and how much earnest money deposit, explaining a little bit about the benefit of earnest money deposit, EMD, we call it.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell my clients in the past, the rule of thumb is I would always suggest them to put at least about 1% of the price of the house as EMD, explaining them where would that money go to. It will go toward their down payment. But stronger the EMD, the stronger is the offer. And explaining also, if you, the only downfall is if you're gonna change your mind, default, then if you plan to default, you better don't put big EMD, because be prepared to lose it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you just really like just write the offer and explain them. You once you write the purchase agreement, okay, then I would call them and go through paragraph by paragraph in general, but most specific things like what it can impact, or the paragraph that can cause legal problems, you want to go extra deep. Example, on what's included in a house, appliances. So you want to go over that. Okay, these are the appliances are staying with the house, and we're going to include them. Please make sure when we go to inspection or whatever to take pictures and identify. If once the offer is accepted, so you go through that checklist, what to expect, and to prepare them. So then, just again on
Luigi,
possession,
do you use under the offer area? Do you use the BSNA? Do you ever, as we're following down the checklist, the verify, the tax information, and but as you're getting ready to write the offer, do you ever use that stuff?
yeah, very good. Yes, that's where I was going to next. Thank you. Yes, thank you for that, Tracy. So yes, I prepare them what's going to be their approximate based on that pre-approval. I do go over what to expect monthly payment is going to be. Most, and then very important is that tax information. What is going to be the the taxes, because the taxes after the closing is going to change the following year. So you really want to educate them that the mortgage payment, or especially if taxes are included in a mortgage, you want to prepare them. That's going to change the following year.
Mm-hmm.
And you
And I think
always,
also, Luigi, what Tracy might be referring to, and maybe you haven't seen some of the problems we've had, is we just take a look at the BSA tax information beyond the taxes, and that's a good point that you're sharing, is that we've had the property lines be different than what was in the MLS. And I remember one specifically that said it had 10 acres, and the agent was like, that's not right. So she went to GIS mapping and remapped it out, did some investigation, and it was wrong in the MLS. And so that's that's just, it's just not a bad idea to go look and make
Yeah,
sure that that agent put the information right. And that deal did fall apart. This was several years ago,
yeah.
but just to just verify that everything is
No, very good.
as it says it is. Yep.
Yeah, in my area in MLS, we have also PRD, public record. I click
Okay.
there. And
Yeah.
usually I go based
Yeah.
not what MLS says, but what public record
Yes.
says. And then in
Perfect.
public record, it states that taxes are based on taxable value. And then I prepare them when I see especially a gap, the big difference sometimes could be double difference between state equalized value and taxable value, because
Hmm.
what the buyer is going to pay based on state equalized value, not based on taxable
Hmm.
value. And so you educate them what to expect, of course.
Hmm. On
And
that note,
because
just to interject, since we are talking about taxes, I don't have it on this list, but if you go to Michigan property taxes estimates, there is a website there that when you click on it, you can go in, it's going to ask you what municipality it is in, which school system it is in, what is the estimated SEV, and you can put in there the new sale price, put in half of that, and it's going to get you somewhere close to what the new taxes will be. And I actually PDF that and then I share it with my client. And typically the lender is doing the same estimate for them. But I don't have that on here. And that's a really good practice so that your buyers aren't surprised later on.
And it's actually the Michigan Property Tax Estimator. And if you
Yes.
Google Michigan Property Tax Estimator,
Estimator.
it will
Yep.
take you to that site. It probably only has rates from 2024, so it's always
Yeah.
behind a little bit. So
Yeah.
just know that when you're giving that information to make sure your clients know, here's an estimate and make sure that it says that all over it, that they should call the local tax assessor or the treasury office of the local community where they're thinking about buying, so they get the most up-to-date millage rates. But
yeah,
as Luigi said, you're just trying to, give them some information to base their offer on what the future taxes might be.
yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And here's for me one of the most, if not most important thing is when you prepare the CMA, because this is really crucial. This is where it's going to make or break the trust towards you from your clients,
Mm-hmm.
because you want to do comparable market analysis, because whatever offer you write, you want to know, because they hire you because they trust you. You are an expert, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
want to provide that information. This based on my founding, this is the value. This is how much this house is worth. That's going to help them to write an offer. Let's say if they want a lowball, it's going to also help you, not just them, because
Mm-hmm.
here's where it's going to benefit you to convince them. Okay, hey, I'll do whatever you ask me. I work for you. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're gonna be lucky and get a better price than it's worth. But when you have these evidence comparables handy, it's going to really help you, where you don't have to fight, or they can label you or blame you. Oh, you just want to have a deal going on. You want to get paid. No, it's not coming from me. This is the proof. So you actually you have it available to provide comparables to the buyer how much it's worth. So
All right.
that's going to help you also to negotiate, not just to help the buyers to determine the right offer, but also to negotiate with the listing agent, because a lot of times these listings are overpriced, and you can go to listing agent and say, hey, based on what did you price it? Because help me, I'm having a hard time to you don't want to offend them or, invalidate them. We want to be careful with those. Nobody likes to be invalidated, right? But you want to say, can you help me out? How did you come to this price? Because my findings, my comparable market analysis showed me this. Did you find something I missed perhaps? So it's going to help you to be a master negotiator on this CMA, okay?
Yep.
And of course, signing disclosures is important to review, especially seller's disclosure. It's really, really important to see if it was any issues with the property. For example, a roof leak, basement, plumbing leak, basement leak, because these are all important things to prepare your seller, because the sellers don't expect the buyers, I'm sorry, don't expect the buyers, they're gonna catch. They don't know what the heck is seller disclosures necessarily. It's our job to educate them and to keep eye on it. Okay, you're buying a house that had in the past issues with a basement leak or roof leak. What does that mean? It means be prepared. You might have more leaks coming in your future if you choose to buy this house.
All
And
right.
we want to take extra care, extra careful to ask extra question or inspector when you do inspection, if once your offer is accepted. So these kind of forms are very important to go through.
Perfect. And
So
then one
then
last thing that I do, and then I'm going to pass it to Tracy on the pending process so we can get through all this. But I do, when I show a property, I download the MLS and all the photos. And the reason I do that is that I have some baseline of what the house looked like when we showed it. And there are situations that come up where maybe appliances were transferred out or they changed something in the MLS. You see it with the sewer, the well and septic. Maybe they had 4 bedrooms, but then they advertise it that way, and then they'll switch it back to 3 because that means they'd have to increase the size of the septic tank. So there's a lot of things that can happen. So I just upload it and I have a baseline of that. So thank you. So Tracy, I'm going to pass to you so we can the pending process is kind of long.
Okay,
So
I'll try to be quick.
yeah.
And I didn't turn my ring central off, but you probably can't hear it, can you? Yeah,
No.
okay, good, because it's
No.
ringing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so pending process. More things you're gonna gather and put in your basket like Little Red Riding Hood. And the
Hmm.
thing you're gonna need to do is you're gonna pick inside your dot loop, you're gonna create a pending folder. In fact, it probably will import one of the master folders in there will be your pending folder.
Hmm.
And inside of that, you're gonna have to have some things completed. You're gonna need a new deal summary. You're gonna have all the forms that you've done with your buyer agency, your disclosure regarding agency relationship. If you're using Star Title, that's our in-house title company. I'm a supporter of Star Title. I have been for years. It's actually a benefit to you because Star Title works for the agents at Five Star Real Estate. So it's kind of like having your best friend in your back pocket that when you need them, they're just a step away. But if you use Star Title, you must have a disclosure that states that Five Star Real Estate has an owner interest in Star Title. So you need to have all those forms done and completed, and they must be in your pending folders. Okay. You're also going to need a copy of that fully executed purchase agreement by the buyer and the seller. And you're going to need a copy of the disclosure the disclosures, the lead-based paint and seller disclosure will also need to be there. Once you have all those things together and you've been checking all your boxes, you're going to come to the next one that says submit for review. See, we've made this really easy for you. So you're going to know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Lauren, when you get your first deal, I'm picking on you because I know you're really new and I only have so many faces I can see right here. But this is your roadmap. It's going to make it really easy for you. So once you're done with that, you're going to submit your file for review. The admins are going to come in behind you. They're going to take a peek at what you've been doing. And if you've misstepped, in other words, maybe you missed an initial on a seller disclosure or a lead-based paint form or a signature. You've got plenty of time to get it corrected before the file closes, because no one wants to come back to their client after it's closed and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but we missed your initial on the bottom of page 2 of the purchase agreement." It's not a good look. So trust me, maybe I've had to do this, so I have some experience, but go ahead and get those things done on the front end. And the reason you need to submit those things for review is you need to let the office know you have a pending transaction. The moment we're holding earnest money, love and affection between a buyer and a seller, that's the time the broker has to have a view into what you're doing. What are you working on? And have you made any missteps? One of the things in your purchase agreement might be that you have to order a survey. We see it very less and less these days. Um, I have not done a survey ever. Oh, one time I've done a survey in my number of years in real estate. So it's not very common because buyers are trying to get their offers accepted as quickly as possible. And they want the seller to choose them over one of the 2, 3, 4, or 5 or more offers they have. And when you add in a contingency, the contingency of, I need to know whether or not like the boundary survey here. That's a reason a buyer could get out of a transaction and a seller would have to start all over. But if you have to order one, make sure, according to your purchase agreement, you check this box of yes or no, this needs to be done. And then go through your dot loop, organize it, get rid of things. If you wrote an offer and then the seller sent you back a signed offer, archive the one that the buyer signed and mark the one that's fully executed as such, fully executed purchase agreement, 123 Main Street. I jumped ahead of myself a little bit about the earnest.
Oh, you're good. Can you see my screen?
I can
You're
see
right.
it now. Yeah. I'm
Yep,
like, why
yep,
isn't the earnest money here? Because it was on page 2.
yep, there it is. Yep, okay.
So yeah, if you have to do an earnest money, you are going to need to take care of that. You can pick it up from your client and send it to 5 Star Real Estate, drop it off at one of our offices or mail it to us, take a picture of it, put it in your loop. You can use Earnest. It's inside of Dot Loop. It's in the upper right-hand corner of Dot Loop. You just click on Request Earnest, and it'll walk you right through the steps to send your client a link that they can capture the money directly through Earnest, and then it's going to send you a copy of the receipt showing, yes, we've got the funds. You load that into your dot loop, send a copy of it to the listing agent, send a copy to the title company, send a copy to the lender, send a copy to everybody that you have done what you were supposed to do according to the contract, because it may say you're supposed to collect earnest money within 2 or 3 days, or whatever you've stipulated it, but make sure that you do it. Send a copy of the PA and the disclosures to the lender. The lender's going to need to start building a file, so they're going to need to get a copy of the purchase agreement and a copy of the disclosures. Sometimes the buyer will send it, but I always do it as a way to introduce myself and introduce the title company, things like that. I send my clients a copy of the fully executed purchase agreement. Once they get under contract, I like them to have everything in one spot. So I send them a copy of everything they have signed with me up to that point. Buyer agency contracts, disclosure regarding agency relationships, fully executed contract. And I want them to know, hey, congratulations. This is huge. We have, you're under contract. So make sure you're doing that. I use Dot Loop to do it. And the reason I do that is because now I have a paper trail of that purchase agreement and that it is actually gone to my client. I can see the date I sent it. I can see the day they opened it. And if they didn't open it, I can see that they didn't. But nonetheless, I have proof. You're going to need to order the title work. Who are you ordering title through? I shared that I use Star Title. So if you're using Star Title, you can check a box on your new deal summary that says order title work through Star Title. Now that doesn't happen magically just by putting that little check mark in that box. You actually need to submit your file for review. When you submit the file for review and that new deal summary is filled out, the branch administrator will grab that and make sure Star Title gets a notification that they need to begin ordering title for and starting the file for this. What's really cool is when the title is ready, Star Title will all of a sudden it'll just get loaded right into your loop. Communication will begin, and they're going to make your life easy and they're going to make you look good. So whether you're new or not, that will happen.
Mhm.
And then let's just say there were some repairs on your file. Maybe there needed to be some electrical work or plumbing work done. Maybe there was mold and that needed to be done. Be a pro. Upload all these things into your dot loop because your client may call you 6 months from them like, hey, I can't find that receipt for that plumbing work that was done, but that's leaking again, or I'm having this problem. And you're going to look like a pro because you can just grab your cell phone, open it up, bing, 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 and within 2 seconds, it's in your client's hands. So I just use, again, it's your electronic filing system for everything for that file.
Perfect. And that leads us right into inspections. As you're seeing, there is a lot to this process. So we're going to continue to talk about it and then we'll take some questions at the end. So write those down and we'll come back to it. So I'm going to put all the inspections all into one lump here, but it's important if you have a home, first of all, that is sometimes with foreclosures, we need to just make sure that the utilities are on. So that really important. Um, your buyer can have any inspection, any and all inspections during that inspection period. So most common, we'll have a home inspector, a pest inspection, we'll have a radon inspection, well and septic. There's, it's not limited to any sort of any type that they want to have. It is absolutely not limited. A couple things that are not pretty standard or not standard in a regular home inspection are typically most inspectors I find don't do a chimney inspection. Very important if you have a pool, that's going to be a separate inspection. Pool equipment, sewer scope, sprinkler systems. If there's a sprinkler and you can get the system turned on, you will want to make arrangements to have with the seller to have that turned on. Opening up a sprinkler system that hasn't been opened in years could be pretty costly. So you're going to follow the timelines per your purchase agreement, and this is the time for your buyer to inspect the property. And as Louise said regarding seller disclosures, you want to pay attention to what is on that seller disclosure in case there was water in the basement, so you can have your inspector look further into that and investigate that a little bit more. What else are there? There's anything you Tracy or Luigi can think of that just that we need to do in this section, any and all. You just really want to make sure that and when you do have an inspection, the if you've never had one yet, the inspector's going to go in for 2 or 3 hours and they're going to go through that home in very, very detailed. And they typically will take pictures and they're going to show you a report. And at the end, they're going to give you a summary of what they found. But be sure that you're reviewing that whole inspection report with your buyer. So very,
One,
very important. Yep.
one thing I just want to put Kim and Tracy
Mm-hmm.
is about inspection to prepare or educate the agents because this can save you a lot of deals. I noticed so many back out of the deal comes out of inspection, and especially first-time home buyers, they get overwhelmed, they get scared, they back out of the deal when they get the list of things they need to do. So really, what I always prepare the buyers before the inspection. The inspector's job is not to find out what's right with the house. It's the opposite. They're not going to tell you how great the house is. They're going to just find out the problems and they're going to put magnifying glass. And if I go, I always say to buyers, especially new buyers, if we go to White House, I promise you we're going to find things what's wrong with the White House. Any house you're going to find problems. We done so many sales with the brand new construction and builders. Before the closing, we would find a list of things that how can a brand new house have anything wrong? We would find out what's wrong with the brand new house. So there is no such a thing as a perfect house. So we want to prepare the buyers that don't be overwhelmed or discouraged. Now, you want to say it in a responsible way, not to also sugarcoat it to kind of, oh, don't worry about anything. No, what I say, the main thing to watch is structural issues, if it's any hazard issue, those are the major thing that you want to consider, of course, to back out of the deal. But you're going to find little things always. So, and of course, let the inspector, let the professional take it from there. But it's good to prepare the buyers, especially a first-time buyer, what to expect. That's
Good comments.
always, I prepare
Right.
that.
And one thing that we want to be sure as we move on to title insurance is watch your timelines. Watch what your purchase agreement says, follow the timelines. They all have them for the inspection period, the time that you have to ask for repairs, a time for the seller to respond, and if your buyer is going to get out, that time is on there as well. So follow that very, very carefully. Review that with your buyer, and then if they're going to ask for repairs, ask for them and follow your timelines and know their rights to be able to negotiate, stay in the transaction, not ask for any repairs, negotiate or terminate. Really important. Okay. As far as title insurance, that is something that you want to pay attention to. Tracy already talked about a little bit. We do have some recordings that will help explain title to you, so we're not going to do that in class. But very important that you understand title and that you, when that copy comes to you, that you're looking at it, that you are reviewing it. If you have questions, you're reaching out to the broker support team, you're reaching out to the title company, and that you are sharing that with your buyer. And you'll want to know, what am I looking for here? What am I verifying? What are the exceptions? Who is on the policy? Who should be, who has the ability to sell this home, and any outstanding taxes, assessment, mortgages. You want to be familiar with title work, and you want to make sure that we are sharing it, and those also have timelines as well. So any additional thoughts, Tracy, on that?
No, I think that's good. That's good. Those
Okay.
are great things.
All right. And then we're going to wrap up here with some things for pre-closing and after closing. So whoever wants to take that, Tracy, you want to take that real quick, and then we're going to open it up. I know it's a big subject, but we want to make sure we have some times for your questions out there as well.
The big things in pre-closing is really going to be like the buyer, the home insurance, like those kinds of things. The lender is going to really drive most of those conversations. You won't be a part of it. You might hear things like, "Hey, we've got, three conditions to close." One of them is always going to be the conditions come from the lender, and one of the conditions is always going to be homeowners insurance. If your buyer's buying cash, that might be an opportunity for you to say, don't forget to get homeowners insurance, but for the most part, you won't
That's
really
done.
be involved in that. Verifying the closing disclosure has been signed. That's another thing you'll hear, that the lender will send the closing disclosure. That has to be signed within 3 days of closing. By law, it was the Dodd-Frank law that came out probably about 8 to 10 years ago. A lot of lenders are sending that disclosure out earlier now. So you're finding that the clear to close comes on Wednesday, and next thing you know, we're closing on Friday, but it really hasn't been 3 days. And that's because the closing disclosure was signed earlier in the process. Okay. Make sure that your new deal summary is updated. When you filled it out was right after the buyer went under contract. And I think Luigi said this at the beginning. At the top of the form, it said, what was the contract price? So in Luigi's example, buyer went under contract for 300,000, but we negotiated $5,000 in repairs. So now we have a new sale price of 295,000. So when the commission check comes in, the numbers aren't gonna match up to what the commission is if the sale price isn't correct. So this is an opportunity for you to circle back, make sure that you've verified that if there's been any changes, you make that change there. Maybe you added a buyer. Sometimes that happens. You started with one buyer, but all of a sudden the buyer couldn't get a pre-approved. Maybe you have a second buyer now. Review your settlement statement. Okay, this is massive. Okay, Luigi, is this huge? Yeah.
For sure,
Yeah.
sure.
It's huge. And many times we're finding that agents aren't reviewing the settlement statement. And let me tell you why I think it's really important for you to review the settlement statement. Number one is you've been a part of the transaction from the beginning and the end is coming close. You know all the pieces and parts. You don't know the lender fees and some of those things, but you certainly knew that there was a $200 water escrow that should have been being held. You knew that there was a $1,000 escrow for damages. You knew that the broker transaction fee was $345, and you knew that the sale price was X. I could go on and on and on. But at the end of the day, verify when you go through that settlement statement that all the things that are there are supposed to be there. And if you are missing something, this is your opportunity to call and say, hey, we're missing my broker transaction fee. Because if it doesn't get collected that day, it's going to be really difficult to collect it later. And at the end of the day, if there's $1,000 damage deposit that was missed, somebody's going to be upset. So take the time, review it. If you don't understand it, call us. We're so happy to go through this with you. In fact, we actually get paid to do this. So please call us. Let's see.
And your commission can be affected there too, can be, because you can, if you miss on commission, if it stays different than what agreed, guess what? It can cost you thousands of dollars and too late. You cannot chase anyone to collect commission after the closing, so.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
the number one reason why we should be checking it is for your client and for yourself and your broker to make sure all those things are correct. You know, is your commission on there? Is the commission correct? So yes, thank you. Let's see, were we,
Home warranties, those get missed quite often.
yes,
So
yes,
home warranties, we'll make sure those are on
absolutely.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then is your buyer entitled to a final walkthrough? What did the purchase agreement say? I always recommend a home walk, a walkthrough before closing. I'm a fan of doing it right before I leave to go to the closing. I want to make sure that when the seller walked out to come to the closing, that the appliances that are in the purchase agreement are actually in the home. I've had a hot water heater, a furnace, an air conditioning unit stolen from the outside of the house that were caught before closing. So these are really important reasons why you do a final
Let me
walkthrough.
ask you a question, Tracy.
Mhm.
If if the home has post possession for 2 weeks or 30 days, do you still do a walkthrough?
I do. I do. It feels weird. I'll just tell you, even telling my client, yeah, we should do one, because you want to remember on the day of closing, this is what I saw when I walked through and I had all this love and affection. And now I'm back here today. And yes, it was that refrigerator, and which is why Kim downloads the pictures. She's a
Yep.
pro. That's why we do all those things. And so, even though it's weird, even though their stuff is, and maybe they're in some form of packing, I still do it.
Yep. I would never not do a walkthrough. You should always have one. Yeah,
Yep.
because
Yep.
even especially if they have 2 weeks, you haven't seen that home in maybe 6 or 7 weeks. So
Right.
you absolutely want to
Right.
have one. Yep.
Utilities. I always say whoever lays their head on the pillow that night, that's who's paying the electricity. Okay. So if your seller closes on Monday night, the buyer should be paying the utilities. So whose ever head goes on the pillow, that's who pays the utilities. What I
Right.
usually tell my sellers is this. Buyers are going through a lot. I'm reminding the listing agent, hey, make sure or as a listing agent, I'm reminding the buyer agent to make sure the utilities get changed. I tell my sellers to call the utility company the day after closing just to verify. That way, no one's getting the electric shut off because maybe they were on the way to the closing and they made that call. So just as a little bit of grace.
Hmm.
Let's see. And yeah, do you have a moving checklist? So utilities are a piece of it, but talking to them about mail and, remembering all the different things they have on auto ships, things like that. Closing gift. Do you bring one? It's not required. Um, if you do decide to give a closing gift, leave it in your car. Stick it in your pocket, in your brief bag. After the seller leaves or after the buyer leaves, the other side leaves, then share your gift. I never try to shame the other side because if they didn't bring a gift, all of a sudden this wash of shame comes over you. I've been there.
Yep.
And it's not a good look. So just as a pro, just a thought. And then post-closing escrows, you should be having reminders for these things when you walk out of a closing. If you have a water escrow being held, because there's post-possession, make sure you put yourself a note that says check in 20 days, 30 days, whatever it was, to make sure that you call for that final water reading. If there's $1,000 damage deposit, make sure when you sign off on the key exchange that it says who's getting that $1,000. So make sure you do that. So that kind of takes care of pre-closing.
All right. And then I'm just going to read these through and then let's take some questions.
Okay.
After you're closed, you're going to, if you're in one of our offices and there's a branch administrator there, the title company is going to hand it to the branch administrator. Or they're going to process it and then they're going to hand the check over to the branch administrator. So there's very little for you to do. If you are closing at another office, you'll want to either bring those documents back, the checks back, or they're going to be wired. So just know where those funds, how they're going to make it back to accounting to be processed. We're on the buyer side, so you're not going to be turning in a lockbox. Be sure to manage your database, add your buyer to that database, say thank you, ask for referrals. Now, as far as public databases, a lot of them automatically pick them up now, but you do want to have those closed sales on the public databases because that's where a majority of the public go to see what your sales are and how much you sell each year. We always want to get a client testimony. And that's always good to put on your website, have them on your Zillow, on your wherever your brochures. You want to use those on your newsletter. And then if you like to do a just sold postcard, social media, and then one of the last things you're going to want to do is turn off that auto MLS so that your buyer's not continuing to receive those. So I am going to stop sharing, and we've covered a lot of information today. So tell me, what did we miss, or what didn't you understand, or what questions do you have?
All right, Kim, here's the question from Jill.
Okay.
What is the keyword in templates to find this exact form? I've been unable to find it in this format,
Which form is she looking for?
this checklist.
Oh, it's going to be sent to you. I've sent that out. I can send it again to all of you. And then I believe there are checklists in Dotloop. It is not this one, but I just took a screenshot and I'll send it all to you so that you'll have it. Yep. And there is one in Dotloop. It's formatted a little bit different. It's not as detailed. This is a teaching one. I always have new agents use this because there's so much detail until you get your own method and system. But I absolutely will send this out to all of you again.
Very good.
Yep.
And
And
also,
Corinne,
Jill, just go to the all forms, type in the word checklist, and you'll see buyer seller checklist pop up right there.
Yep.
Yeah, I looked at those and there is one way down, but it doesn't look like this one and
Yeah, this is
yeah.
my teaching one. Yep. And actually, Tracy and I have redone some checklists, and hopefully with the new home base app, some of that will be updated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And what you might find too, Jill, is this. Everybody kind of has their own style.
they do.
So take
Yeah.
what somebody else has started. That's what I did. I have my own. You actually can use checklists inside of Dotloop as well. At the bottom, you can set
Yes.
those up. So you kind of pick your flavor and then you kind of build it out from there. So
Yeah.
whether you use the one that Kim will send or the one that's in Dotloop, you can build this business any way you want it because you are the business owner.
Right.
Mhm. And if somebody asks me, and because you're trying to edit it, I absolutely can send you a copy that you can take and from the computer, and then you can take it and or even a PDF. You can have it open in a Google Doc and or a Google spreadsheet, and you can edit it because like Tracy said, it's like having our own briefcase. So we all like to see things a little bit differently. And then while we're with you, Jill, you asked about what do you use for GIS.
Mhm.
I just Google GIS Kalamazoo County, and then it'll take me right to the site, and you have to say I accept, and then it'll take you through it, and then the GIS mapping will give you a search bar, and
Is it county specific?
typically Kalamazoo County.
Oh, okay. Because
Yep.
I
Yep.
Googled some GIS and it gives you
Yeah, you're going to
different.
want to put in the county. I always do Kalamazoo County GIS mapping. They're
Okay.
all attached somewhere to the municipality typically. Does anybody else see anything different than that in an area that you're in? But that's what I do. I actually was doing it this morning.
Okay.
Okay. And then the last one from Corrine, I think that's the last question. Why no surveys is there a trusted source that is public? So typically, I'll answer this first, is that um, we need to always offer a survey, even though we assume that, especially if it's in a platted subdivision, that everything is okay. But I always tell my buyers, if we can see where we think the boundaries are or the fence line or parameters are, but we don't know. So I always tell them, if you want to know for sure, you'll need to get a survey. Typically, that works out okay, but I will tell you, I sold a house back in 2012, brand new subdivision, really nice home. Everything had just been built. And they moved in, and probably 6 months later, they called me and they said, the neighbor has now informed us that our shed is on their property and we need to move it. So that's my war story. So we never want to give um, information that says it's for sure because we don't know. The only way to know is without a survey. I recently also closed a property that had acreage. And when I looked at the GIS mapping, it was looking like there were some issues with the boundary and the house wasn't even on the right property. So I went on this search. And the only way to really know is to do a survey and have your buyer pay for that. So, and as far as trusted sources, that's something that we would, you can Google and find survey companies. You can ask some of the other agents on Connect, but typically there's a few in town that will recommend. So, anybody else that, Tracy or Luigi, what do you say about surveys? Any other
I would
information?
actually add about survey this, even if you see yourself as it can be a potential issues with the property lines, or you see a concern your buyer, even if you don't write it as a condition with the offer because you don't want to harm or damage the offer, you can revisit this during your inspection. One of the strategy I use for my client buyers during inspection is, okay, if it's a concern, okay, we might see it like Kim was saying, a shed was crossing the property line, and then you can put that condition in the inspection. Okay, this inspection is subject to performing a survey, satisfactory survey at buyer's expense by blah blah blah, whatever the date, right? And if seller gives you a problem, why it's easier for you to fight back. Why are you trying to hide something? Are you it's so much you have control over it when your property is under contract. During inspection, you have more power than when you squeeze it with the offer. So
Yeah.
that's my suggestion.
Well,
One
I
strategy.
actually like that, Luigi, because what I said, Corinne, I apologize, is that it's hard to get your offer accepted when there's five offers, and really a buyer in a situation where it's acreage, it would be in their best interest to have a survey, but if you want to win, they're not going to win against five people because a survey is expensive. Or even if the buyer wants to pay for it, the seller doesn't want to wait because it could take weeks to get the results of a survey back. First, you have to get on someone's calendar, which could take a month,
Takes
and
a
then the
while.
results of it could take a week or two. So the idea, what Luigi said, strategy wise, was a little bit different. It's like get it under contract, we'll figure it out later. So anyway,
Mm.
so I do like that.
Okay, and
Um,
then we have one last question. What happens when the inspector can't test something and the buyer is nervous? For example, sprinklers in the winter. Great question.
mhm.
Great question. What do we do?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No, I would have yeah, sprinklers is a great one. Pools are
Mhm.
another really good one. We
Goals.
get
Yep.
pools a lot.
Yep.
Sprinklers a little bit less, but oftentimes you'll say, "Hey, was it winterized? Does the seller have
Right.
proof of the winterization for the sprinklers?" If they don't, then maybe you'd want to have a couple $1,000 escrowed to make sure that in the spring the buyer has an opportunity to turn on the water system and test it. And if it's not working, well, that's why we had $2,000 escrowed, right? So
Hmm.
that's one thing. And then I would do the same with a pool. What about you, Luigi?
No, I don't think I have anything to do more than that. Just
Yeah.
the best thing is, again, just like that, during
Same,
inspection, you can add that. You
right.
know,
Well, same with the
sprinkle.
roof, right? They can't get
Yeah,
up and get on a
yeah,
roof with their snow and ice. Now, I do
yeah,
have inspectors that have drones, and if it's not fully covered, they might take the drone or they can go into the attic. But that is the
yeah.
challenge of buying a home in the winter. Is I literally turned on a pool once in March. I did some research, found out if it was safe, and we opened that pool in March. And the thing, don't forget that you have to negotiate because after we opened it, we did our inspection. The seller said, "Well, who's going to pay to close it now, or who's going to now they have to maintain it?" Or, but it is possible. Just ask questions.
Yeah.
So. And as far as the extended home warranty offer, I don't know the details of those. There are several different companies and several different types of warranty. So you would look at those, but in general, I have a sell or excuse me, a buyer that's closing tomorrow. And when we did the inspection, we already knew when he did walk through that the furnace was old. And so we asked for a home warranty so that he had some sort of security in knowing that if it went out, he has a deductible and maybe not a $3,000, $4,000 bill. But they have
Yeah.
all different plans. They have roofs, plumbing, warranty, or excuse me, appliances. They're all different, so you'd want to research those. But that's why we will offer those is to help give some reassurance if there's
Yeah.
some old
And a
things.
pool would definitely be an add-on. Like that's not a normal, like Kim was
Yes,
talking about the furnace. A normal home warranty would cover the furnace, but it will not cover a pool. But they
right.
do have add-ons, different companies.
Yeah.
So
And they can be 500, they can be 1,000. So there's different companies out there.
good.
So all good questions. All
Well,
right.
this was a huge walkthrough and
Yes,
probably longer than we thought. It's hard to just zip through these
it
things.
is.
And we all, Luigi, Kim, and I have a different take on them. But we don't want you to miss anything. And just remember, 616-490-0902 is the broker support line. Star Title is your resource for title and Big Lake Insurance and Big Lake Lending.
Mhm.
We have a mortgage company, we have a title company, we have an insurance company. I have them quoting my own insurance right now, but they're all resources right here under the Five Star umbrella. Don't hesitate to reach out to one of us. We can help connect you to one of those people. But most importantly, thank you for showing up today. This is part of your growth and the journey of becoming a pro and picking up little things. Follow us on Five Star Connect. I learned a lot by following Connect. Every little thing I used to read, like, oh my gosh, I hope that never happens to me. But that's how you
Mhm.
learn, really, through others. So thanks for
Mhm.
showing up and investing in yourself.
And next week we will walk through the seller process. And just remember, all of these have legs. So like we didn't get into the buyer consult because we have other training sessions about the exact buyer consult or the exact listing presentation. So these are just an overview if so that you understand all the steps and the importance of uh, mapping every single one of these out and following it through and following your contract. So good to see you all today. Enjoy the sunshine. If you have any questions or you need us, we're always happy to help. So please reach out to us on the broker support line. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
See ya.
you.
Bye,
All
guys.
right. See everybody. Bye.
Okay.